And welcome into a Tuesday edition of KC Sports Tonight. Jared Koller here at KCTV5, rocking with the one, the only Gabe Swartz. His face is not on the pre-show board, but by all means, he is a beloved member. We get phone calls off the hook saying we want more Gabe. Or Timmy, depending on
if somebody's a Neil Jones listener or not.
Depending on who's coming in. So, either way, the good news is that Gabe and I, actually, no, let me rephrase that. For those of you that placed $1 million wagers on the Royals win-loss total, if you wagered millions of dollars on the over, and you're expecting to cash that in a few weeks, you're going to have a lot of money here coming up. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend that money for you by buying, by selling, or holding. See, the popular segment, Gabe, is buy or sell, but I feel like hold should be in that because a lot of times hold is the answer. It's like, hey.
Because a lot of times you've had a position on a player and you got to say, I'm sticking with it.
Right. That's kind of, the status quo. Whereas all these hot take shows where they're making you have a hot take with buying or selling, no. These are educated takes when it's Gabe and Jared on KC Sports Tonight, all right? So hold is a reasonable answer. And if you hold viewers or Gabe, I won't shame you for that. So, hence, buy, sell, or hold for the Chiefs, some players we're talking about, Royals, and then our three local college football teams now ranked in the AP Top 25 poll, Mizzou, Kansas State, and Kansas. So, that's coming up. Gabe, first of all, congrats on being a millionaire with all your winnings, and now to figure out where the heck you spend it.
I don't know where that idea is coming from, but
and for now, we put it on perhaps a futures bet for the Chiefs Super Bowl. In order to get there, they're going to need a strong season out of their wide receiver core. Actually, I shouldn't say they need that because last year I guess they kind of went without. So I don't know if they need that, but it'd be nice to have. And I think the returning leader from last year, is Rashee Rice. And so coming off a breakout rookie season, obviously not the best offseason off the field wise, but now he's in year 2 with help around him. Rashee Rice, are you buying or selling the stock on Rashee Rice or letting it ride?
I think I would say a hold because I think it's going to be a lot of what we saw last year at the end of the season, a continual, I guess, a little bit of growth. I'm not really anti anything in terms of Rashee Rice's on-field performance as long as he's available. And I think that's why I would put it in a hold because we still don't know if he'll be available for all 17 games of this season or not.
Yeah.
I would say my buy goes in a different direction in the Chiefs offense.
Okay. No, that's a nice little tease. And keep in mind, in order to buy, you would basically saying he's going to have a 1,000-yard season because last year in 16 games he had 938 yards and 7 touchdowns. I think if he had that, I definitely wouldn't be disappointed. I don't know if I'd be thrilled just because I think he's got more in his back. And I don't know if I want to read too much into training camp, Gabe, but he looks faster. And I think now he's going to have some other help around him, and I think there's more confidence in him with Patrick Mahomes. I have a slight buy, but I think hold is fair, and I'm not selling it. I think he is a bona fide dude, and I expect him to take a step forward. It's just a matter of, okay, is that an extra 100 yards, extra touchdown, or is he like, a legit number 1 NFL wideout in that tier? We'll see.
Yeah. I don't know if it would be much. I think 1,000 yards is in store for him because I think he could have gotten it last year if they didn't.
Right.
They had him playing that last game.
So with that in mind, then are you buying, selling, or holding on Xavier Worthy? Because I feel like stock was pretty low coming out of OTAs and minicamp where he didn't play much or hardly at all because he had that hamstring injury. But he's gone out in training camp, turned a lot of heads, and then didn't even play in the first preseason game. That's how confident they are in him. So as of August 13th, buying, selling, or holding Xavier Worthy stock.
I think that with the news of the Hollywood Brown injury, that the initial thought would be to buy, and I would say it would the thought is that he's going to be more needed specifically in week 1 because given the 4 to 6 week timeline of Hollywood Brown missing time with the shoulder injury that he suffered on Saturday, that means he's probably unlikely to play in week 1. maybe plays week 2, but if you just give him the Tyreek Hill return to timeline from 2019, that puts him back safely for week 3. I don't know if you should really overreact to the first 2 weeks of Xavier Worthy. I mean, we got to see more in week 1 than we expected from Rashee Rice last year, but also that's with less to be expected around.
That's the outlier.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you look at Andy Reid rookie wide receivers, Rashee Rice is on the top end compared to most.
Mm-hmm. So I would say early season when Hollywood is missing or not in the fold, I would expect they try to get him a touchdown one of the first 2 games, but that's also unfair to just be able to be like, oh, they're just going to give him one because it's the Ravens and the Bengals. So the competition is going to be pretty stiff right out of the gate.
Yeah, and the good news, he's played big games at Texas, but again, the NFL is different. There's a learning curve no matter how prepared you are. I mean, look at, Patrick Mahomes didn't play his first year and then hit the ground running, and it's not a guarantee that he will absolutely hit the ground running. I would tend to think that he will, but it's a harder ask for him to make the kind of impact that Rashee Rice did last year. So I think people expecting a 1,000-yard season, that's, I think, unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's possible, especially depending on the health of Hollywood Brown. Is this the first of a handful of injuries that maybe keeps him out? We don't know. I mean, he's a bit of a smaller receiver. And so, Gabe, that brings us to Hollywood Brown, who I would say at this point probably unlikely to play week 1, but by no means ruled out. But realistically, week 2, and unless something goes terribly wrong, at least week 3. So Hollywood Brown, given a strong training camp, but now an injury scare, you buying, selling, or holding Hollywood Brown?
I'm holding. I was pretty high on him when they signed him. I've been pretty high on him throughout the offseason and kind of his expectations. I think that it would be a different way and a different look than the way that they utilized Juju Smith-Schuster in the 1 year that he was in Kansas City, but I think that he can have that level of impact on the Chiefs offense. And I think to say that an injury that'll probably have him out weeks 1 or week 2 potentially, to say that that's going to ruin his whole season, I think would be overreaction. And so I would say I'm holding with my personal investment on Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Juju comp there. I think people forget partly because he tanked with the Patriots last year and then is now a free agent cut by New England. He had 933 yards and 14 starts.
He was their leading receiver despite it being his first year with Mahomes.
And I think people don't remember that as well because he only had 3 receiving touchdowns, which seems a little bit low. But that was partly because Travis was going crazy that
Travis year. Travis had almost all the touchdowns that year.
Yeah, but he's still nearly 1,000 yards in 14 starts, 16 games. So, I think that would be close to best case scenario. Wrapping up on the offense then, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Interesting conundrum because he has been on a decline since his rookie year, and especially decline if you go back to his very first game as a pro when he went crazy against the Texans in that season opener where you're like, oh my gosh, this dude's crazy. So I don't know if he's lived up to that hype. Whether or not that hype was justified or fair is a different topic. But the Chiefs re-signed him this year. He could have walked, but they said, no, we are going to guarantee money to bring this player back. And I'm wondering if that makes you more confident in what Clyde Edwards-Helaire will do, or are you saying, no, his time has run out?
I think it's pretty up in the air, and so I think that most people feel like it's a sell at this point in terms of having expectations for him to contribute much. And I think when you listen to what Andy Reid has said this preseason and this training camp about Isaiah Pacheco, when he's been asked about, what's Pacheco's look and his role going to be like in third down situations and passing down situations, all that. And Andy Reid has been pretty glowing about his ability to kind of do all that kind of stuff. So I would say if you're drafting for fantasy football this fall or this week or next week or whatever, I would be pretty high on Isaiah Pacheco because I think that his opportunity, you just expect. Last year was like the Chiefs' floor for the offense, and I think they were the 11th or 12th offense in the league. That feels like the worst case scenario that they can do. And he's going to have plenty of opportunity to touch the ball. He's going to catch passes more often because Jerick McKinnon's not in the backfield to be that pass catching option for the Chiefs this year. So I think Isaiah Pacheco, both in terms of fantasy football value, of if you're playing fantasy football, you want him because he's going to get all these touches, and then in real life value, I think he has a chance to have the best season for a running back for the Chiefs since Kareem Hunt in 2018 before he got released. I truly think he's going to have that kind of impact this year, and the Chiefs are going to be able to throw the ball deep with Worthy and whenever Brown is healthy and Rashee Rice. All that speed's going to help things. I don't think that they want to lean on Travis Kelce for a 17-game rigor to be crazy workhorse. I think that that's Isaiah Pacheco this year. It's his third year. It's going to be, he's older than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. People forget that.
Yeah.
And so I would say like 25 years old, this feels like one of the peak physical years for Pacheco. He's looked great in camp, and he had a really good run on Saturday in the preseason. So I am as close to all in as you could be on Isaiah Pacheco, and part of that factors in the uncertainty surrounding Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah. I had forgotten that Isaiah Pacheco is a whole month older than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Absolutely right. I was like, they can't be that far apart. But yeah, they're apart. I think in order for you to be correct there, he has to have more involvement in the passing game. He's played 31 career NFL games, and he has 374 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns.
But he looked more comfortable
right
at the end of last year.
Agreed, and they haven't asked him to do that. They had Jerick McKinnon, they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so I'm not saying it's a fault of him, but for whatever reason, I think part of that might have been pass blocking, not able to do that, and trust to maybe run the right routes as you're learning in NFL offense. So I'm not saying he can't do it. Now, I would say, okay, his last year had 244 receiving yards. I'm saying minimum 300. I would take the over on that, but it's another thing to do it. And so I think this is a big year for him to take that step forward. We saw the signs. He had that touchdown catch against the Bengals where he ran that great route, right, ending up over the middle. And I'm like, that is a cheat code when you've got the weapons around you that they do this year. If he can be a weapon in the backfield, I think that's big.
I've been saying all preseason, I think that part of the reason that they're so high on Kingsley is his athleticism, and that his athleticism plays into them being able to do all the screen game stuff that Andy Reid likes to do. And I think that helps with getting Pacheco more comfortable in the screen game.
But when I think of a screen running back, Jerick McKinnon was so good at that.
Yeah.
And so again, if it's his decision to not come back, then we wish him the best. But like, if part of him wants to play football, I mean, I think he was Kansas City's best screen running back since Jamal Charles. I mean, his vision, his ability to catch the ball and explode, like, I just thought he ran that to perfection. We saw it in the playoffs. Maybe if you want to argue playoff Damian Williams, I guess. But also playoff Jerick McKinnon had some nice moments there too. So, all right, finishing up on the defensive side, Gabe, anybody that you're like, hey, if you've got stock in this guy, get rid of it, or you're saying, hey, let's hit the over on this guy?
I think things are getting rough with Felix Anudike-Uzomah, just in terms of he was out there for a long time on Saturday night playing against third stringers and deep depth chart guys. I just don't think that Spags was being really honest when he said things weren't always great with him in camp this year. So I think things are kind of bleak on that front, but then I would be up on Jaden Hicks. I really like what I've seen from him, and they just seem to trust him a lot, and it's another one of those late round defensive back draft picks for Brett Veach that with Dave Merritt and Spags, it's just the recipe for success for them, finding gold at the bottom of the draft.
Yeah, the whole defense, with exception of Justin Reed, everyone now is a recent is on their rookie contract, even with losing L'Jarius Sneed, who was a 4th-round draft pick out of Louisiana State. Jaden Hicks was one of 2 players who Andy Reid shouted out unprompted after the game on Saturday. Jaden Hicks and Carson Steele were the 2 guys who was like, yeah, they look like they can play. The only thing I'd say for Felix, other than the fact that Gabe hitting a local hometown hero, just so cruel. But no, I mean, you're right. That's a fair take. The reason I'm not buying Felix stock, but I still wouldn't sell just because I saw week in and week out the player was at Kansas State, and I just think there's more in there that we haven't seen. Now, I know that doesn't translate as well to the NFL because you're not going up against college tackles, so it's a faster game. But if you go back and look at his tape from college, I don't. And he's only getting older. I mean, so it's not like he did that and he was older than it. He did that while he was younger against fine competition. And so, first impression not great. And at the end of the year, I might say, all right, there's nothing here. But I keep thinking back to that player and think, okay, surely there's some of that in there. And so we'll see.
You'd hope so.
All right, how about those boys in blue? Not the result they wanted to start a series in Minnesota, and just like every other series, if they lose this series, the sky is falling. They're not making the playoffs, and if they win, they are. Sarcasm. It's this yes is a big series, but it also does not define their season. They still have a 2-game lead in the wild card race, and they're still trailing Cleveland, who they have 7 games left this year against, currently trailing by 5. In the AL Central. Seth Lugo, currently 13 wins on the season. That's most in all of baseball. He's in action tonight. So, Gabe, let's start with tonight's starting pitcher, Seth Lugo. He's an all-star this year for the first time, has the wins, but now he's pitched more innings this year than in his entire career. Does that lend itself to someone say, hey, he has peaked? And let me caveat this. I'm not saying he's going to be a Cy Young contender necessarily the rest of the way, but do you think he can continue at this level and be a top of the rotation force? Or are you saying no, he's now going to revert back to maybe what we thought he would be?
I think there's like a middle ground between he's one of the 5 best pitchers in the AL and he's a middling average starter, and I think that's kind of where it would slot in. I just think that once you get into this innings load for him, it becomes kind of uncharted territory.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can really expect the same level of production, but that's why making strides in the bullpen and getting a guy like Lucas Erceg and being able to kind of extend things out a little bit is helpful. Tonight is extremely, extremely important for the Royals because they need to win tonight and tomorrow night to avoid losing the season series against the Twins, and that thus needing to beat them by a game to surpass them in the playoff race, because you've already lost the season series to the Red Sox.
We're now but you have the season series over the Mariners, who are now right there with you.
Yes. So it ends up being one of those where, like, the more teams that you have losing the season series against than winning the season series against, it just becomes tough with tiebreakers.
I'm not going to.
That's really looking ahead,
and I'm not going to be. If they lose 2 out of 3, I'm not going to. Because also, maybe if the playoffs seeding holds now, I'd rather the Royals be the 6 seed than the 5 seed and go to Houston or Seattle than have to go to the Bronx and play at Yankee Stadium. So in that case, maybe I would want them to lose the Twins. Now, at the end of the year, odds of 2-3 AL Central teams making it are somewhat some. So, yeah, you might be fighting the Twins for that last playoff spot. So, I agree you want to win every game. But, again, I don't put too much stock in it. Just as everybody was talking about that last Guardian series is the end-all be-all. Royals won 3 out of 4. I just can't do it. As far as Seth Lugo goes, Gabe, I'm buying compared to, not that he's necessarily going to be so much better than what he's been, but compared to what everybody thinks he's going to do, where you said kind of that middle ground. I think he's built for longer success than people realize because he has so many freaking pitches, and he keeps people guessing in a game to game. But also, like, if he doesn't have the velocity on his fastball, okay, then he's working more of the off speed. Or if that curveball's not moving as much, great, he has different speeds on his fastball that he can still get guys with. I think he's a veteran, he's crafty, and he's going to be able to adjust as the league adjusts to him and he adjusts to his body. I think Seth Lugo will continue to be a strong starting pitcher. Will he have the best ERA in the American League or around there? I don't know, but I think he's going to do better than what a lot of people think of him as falling off because of the innings load, which is a nice segue to our next guy, because we go to a guy with 10 pitches to a guy with 2 pitches, and that's Brady Singer. Boy, it's just a roller coaster season because he's so good at times and then struggles at times, and it's all just whether or not his two pitches are working, or if one of his pitches working and the other doesn't, you're not going to survive. He didn't survive against the Twins. I will say the 6 runs he gave up all were with 2 outs, so there's a degree of flukiness in that, and one of those was walk to Carlos Santana. Hunter Renfroe fell down in right field, and he would have gunned him out at the plate. But either way, Brady Singer was not good last night. You can't put roses on that. Mm-hmm. So I think the popular thought right now is that Brady Singer is going to decline. So are you buying or selling or holding on Singer?
Well, I think he's at 30 earned runs in the last 36 innings against playoff teams, which is rough. And that's because if you for the season it's like 30 earned runs in 43 innings against playoff teams, but that's with a 7-inning no earned run first start of the year on that Sunday against the Twins in early April. So I'm being a little nitpicky there. But, yeah, the sinker slider stuff, when the slider doesn't play and it just hangs in the zone, it's a recipe for poor stuff. And that's kind of what Quatrero said last night. He's like, I didn't get a chance. He wasn't able to see it from the dugout angle, but he's like, I would venture to guess both home runs were just middle, and that's what they were.
Pretty much, right.
Yeah, I think that Lugo stuff is way more Lugo's. I think it's way more sustainable for Lugo because of the variability of all of his pitches and his ability to keep teams off guard. But you see when Singer pitches against like the Red Sox or the Twins, teams that are high contact and high battle, being able to basically have a 50-50 chance of guessing the pitch is a huge help for them.
I agree. And I think that's fair, but I feel like also at times the pendulum swings too far on Brady Singer. He was a first-round draft pick, but I just want to highlight everything Gabe said is true, and I think there's reason to be pessimistic. But also Brady Singer this year has 14 starts where he's given up 1 earned run or less and pitched at least 5 innings. So it's not like, all right, he pitches 2 innings. No, 14 innings, he's given at least 5, next in the game 0 or 1. That's really strong, and then a couple more with 2. And those teams, it's not all the White Sox, okay? He has that against the Astros, solid team. Tigers, decent lineup. Rangers were in the World Series. Brewers, Rays are competitive. Rangers again. Rays, Twins, Cubs. Like, I feel like the narrative that he's only good against bad teams is not true. Is he much better against bad teams? Yes, but so is every pitcher.
Most good players are.
Now, Brady Singer's gap is stronger, but it's not as simple as good versus bad versus good. Like, there's a gray area, but they need him to be better against the good teams because the rest of the way he's going to face a lot of good teams. So I think it's fair, but it's maybe not as far as people think. All right, anyone in the lineup that you are particularly high on or think now's a good time to buy, or you're saying, hey, now they've peaked?
I really like Michael Garcia's post All-Star break.
Oh, okay.
He's been hitting the ball to right field a lot. And so has Kyle Isbell, which I think that's the number one reason for success for both of those guys at the bottom of the lineup is that they're not just trying to overextend and pull everything. It's just shooting balls to the opposite field, getting on base, getting themselves in the 8-9 spot, turning the lineup over, putting guys on base for Bobby Witt Jr. to take advantage of, and it's working out. Yeah,
I mean, the outfield is it ebbs and flows. Like, Hunter Renfroe is really good. Hunter Renfroe's been not good the past couple weeks, but Kyle Isbell's been really good the past couple weeks. And we talked about Isbell's value in defense. MJ Melendez's defense has been really good of late. He had a really nice catch last night against Minnesota. Melendez has been hitting somewhat better, and so it's you don't need all 3 of those guys firing at the exact same time to have success, but you need at least 1 or ideally 2 of those guys at the time, and however they go about rotating that, I'm fine with. But, I mean, Kyle Isbell's been hitting triples. He had like a 3-hit day the other day. I'm like, I assumed he was just a defense guy, and so anything you get from him, that's a plus in addition to Michael Garcia as well. All right, let's end things on college football. You see there on your screen the AP rankings. We'll go quickly on each 1, 2, 3 here. Mizzou, that 11 ranking at the end of the year, are they better than 11, right at around 11, or worse than 11?
I think they're better. I think
he's buying the Tigers.
I think they're a playoff. I do think they're a college football playoff team. Absolutely.
There you go. and he's putting thousands
mostly because
of
continuity, Brady Cook and then Luther Burden. Like, that's just the simplest explanation for it.
Now, when you say college football playoff team, you feel
it's a 12-team field. It's a 12-team field.
How are you going? I mean, are you thinking? You said that.
No,
pretty quick,
I don't think that they're winning the SEC.
Okay.
I do not think they're winning the SEC, but I do think that they are.
You said it so quick. I'm like, wow.
I think they are one of those teams that is between 5 and 12, and they're playing an on-campus game.
Whew.
I don't know if it's in Columbia or if it's elsewhere, but I think that they will be playing a first-round college football playoff game. Maybe they're the first game of the expanded college football playoff.
Yeah. No, I think, and honestly, this isn't to slight Mizzou because I think they still could do this with a tougher schedule, but I think they have a very winnable schedule. I think Texas A&M coming off after a bye, new coach, that's favorable where they should go down and win in College Station. They maybe won't, because that's a tough place to win. Mm-hmm. And then you get Oklahoma at home, and I don't know what to make of Oklahoma right now. They don't know their quarterback, and that's at home. And so really you only have the one game, and that's at Alabama. And then if you take care of business everywhere else, you're absolutely in. So, but even if they had a tougher schedule, I'd still be bullish because I love their offense. But I think that makes it an easy buy for me as well. Mm-hmm. But I understand the 11 because a lot of people saw them come out of nowhere last year. Smarter minds would have known that they should have been 9-3 the last year if they weren't Mizzou. But Kansas State, the team who Mizzou beat last year on that last-second field goal, number 18, Gabe, buying that 18 spot, selling, or keeping it right there?
I think they'll be right in that range. Okay. Their schedule, to tip my hand on KU, I would have KU finishing above 22 and K-State finishing right around there. I don't know if KU will be much better or not, but KU's there's the Big 12, the future of the Big 12 is going to be largely dependent on people's schedule. KU simply avoids the Utahs of the world, the Arizonas of the world. I believe that they either don't – I don't think they play Oklahoma State either. The only top 5 team in the Big 12 preseason poll that they play is K-State. So that's kind of their one huge game. But like K-State, for example, is playing Arizona in a game that doesn't even count for the Big 12 standings. So – yes, that's a game that could help them.
But K-State doesn't have Utah either, though.
But yes, and K-State doesn't play Utah either. But they do get Oklahoma State. So
they get Iowa State. I guess we'll both get Iowa State.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I think, and that's why I would buy on KU as well. Not that I think they necessarily deserve that, but because of their schedule is also a cakewalk, and I think their skill position is. They've got help if for whatever reason Jalen Daniels was to go down and Cole Ballard step in.
But I think that there is a very, very realistic world where all 3 of these teams win 10 games this year.
I agree. So do you agree with my take that I said on air the other day that the winner of the Sunflower Showdown will make the college football playoff?
Yeah, I'll say I do.
Okay. Which that – part of that goes into how many Big 12 teams do you think? I think if the Big 12 gets 2 teams in, I think that makes it a lot more palatable for me. Whether or not then that second team is Utah, or I could see that being Iowa State or Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I kind of think that whoever ends up being like the number 1 seed in the Big 12 championship game, if they're an 11-1 and then they lose to a team with that is going to get in because of the auto bid, and then the 11-win team loses, that's probably the route to the Big 12 getting 2 in.
But because I think the reason for that Kansas State winner is that's a big win on their resume, and especially for Kansas, they need to beat Kansas State to have that. Whereas the Wildcats could have other stronger wins as well, based on their schedule. As you said, the Arizona non-con game. So I think Kansas State can ensure themselves a spot there with the win over Kansas. But I think both programs are going to be great. And, I mean, Gabe, we could be looking at a Mizzou versus Kansas college football playoff game, Mizzou, Kansas State. I mean, my head would explode. Man, I can't wait. So, great time for sports here in Kansas City, and thankfully for Kansas City viewers, we have Gabe Swartz to break it down.
Wow.
Every step of the way. For now, Jared Koller, James Shields, salute. We'll see you tomorrow.